This religion is just used as a tool to oppress and control people and to villainize other people. And that's exactly what I used it to do. It empowers you and makes you feel righteous and like you know shit and that you're better than people, you're better than these sinners and you know God and are walking with God. And humans love that shit.
Damn. Did he just admit to that? Oh no. Young Don gave up Christianity. This is the most randomest thing I have came across on my time feed. I was literally just eating my lunch and I was just scrolling through YouTube, and then a video was labeled the reason why Young Don left Christianity. He left Christianity? I remember Young Don for being somebody that was like, he dedicated his live streams, his Twitches, his Twitch lives and all these different things. He dedicated his platform to basically analyzing the Bible, analyzing the scriptures, and just really being into the faith. I remember doing a video on Young Don. I don't know what it's called. I forgot what it's called. But I do remember doing a video on him and just really breaking down and analyzing the stuff that he was saying. I believe it was on when they did that, I forgot what it was, the Olympics, I believe, maybe. Not the Olympics. It was some type of ritual. Not ritual. He thought it was a ritual. It was some type of parade or ceremony. It was happening at a sports event. It was like a bull. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll have the video link below if I can find it. But I remember he was doing a video about that, and he was talking about how it was paganism and heathenism and all this different stuff. And I had to break it down on how the symbolism of that is way more complex than just to debase it to just all this superstitious stuff that you get out of the church and out of religion. Anyways, so let's just go to the tweet, right? He tweeted about this morning. He had tweeted this morning about why he left the faith. We're going to go over a few of his tweets, and then we're also going to go over his conversation with one of his good friends. We're going to go over the video as well on him talking about him leaving the faith, and that's not a very long video either, at least from what I found. And I'm going to give my personal perspectives on this because most people may not, some people might be caught off by my reaction. We'll just put it that way. All right, but let's go through his Twitter first. Okay, so we're on Young Don's Twitter account, and he has basically, he's talked about this a plethora of times. He's going through scriptures. He's going through a whole thread of stuff. And, you know, white Jesus is a hell of a drug. There's so much to break down here. And we'll start from the top, right? So this is what he posted. This is what he said at midnight, February 14th. So this was early, right when the day turned. Right when the new day was amongst us. And so of course you're gonna have believers saying you either trolling or you was never really a true believer, all this different stuff. But this is what he says: I went insane for 3 years, believed an invisible God is going to burn billions of people in hell forever because a talking serpent tricked a naked chick into eating a magical fruit in a garden, being guarded by an angel with a magical floating flaming sword. Well, now this is a valid point. All right, this is actually a very valid statement that he made. Right now, I am open to people being honest with themselves, being very blunt with themselves on the basis of their faith. Now the thing is, how I was saying before, I thought he was really fervently into the faith, right? And it was almost a little weird how zealous he was into the faith to such an extent. He would have certain perceptions and beliefs that would be different from the orthodox or the traditional faith of most believers. And you had all these different mainstream Christian platforms attacking him, going against him, saying, oh, he's a new believer, he's just starting up, he's just getting to know, he's a babe, all these different things that they would say about him. So he was really into this for a good 3 years, and now he has deconstructed from Christianity, and now he has left the faith officially, according to what he has said on his platform. So just going through like some of these comments that you see, this man said 2 months you want to be a guitar heavy, and the next you want to dive deep into the faith Christianity. I just find it real interesting to watch this man fall into so many different paths. Never really stick onto nothing. Wouldn't be surprised if he become Muslim tomorrow. So then Don says, 3 years as a devout Christian. I read the Bible cover to cover. I studied the church history intensely. I bet money I know more about any biblical topic than you. We could debate any Christian topic and I wash you. Trying to compare that to losing interest in guitars is dumb. And then this person says, you know everything but Jesus. And then here you go with people like downplaying like his intelligence and downplaying, you know, whether or not he knew the scripture. Now, mind you, these were the same people that would watch him, you know, on a consistent basis of him like breaking down scripture, going on Bible Gateway, you know, breaking down certain translations. Like I would see this man do this on his live streams or like the little, you know, snippets that he would make and put together. And he, as a grown adult, came to his own conclusion on the basis of his faith. Now, what the man was saying here about how like he's just like basically leapfrogging from one interest to another, that was more so a little bit of my concern. And the reason for that is like I don't have a problem with somebody deconstructing from Christianity. I don't know how long he's been deconstructing also as well, because I know he has been currently going through a bit of a transition since the beginning of the year. Ever since when he started to cut down his locks, I knew something was up. When I saw him cutting off his locks on his live, I was like, something is going on. But I don't know how long he has been deconstructing, so I can't really give my personal emphasis or my personal perspective on that. If he has been deconstructing for like a good 6 months, maybe 3 to 6 months, that's a little valid. I hope this was just out the blue, and it could have been out the blue. Maybe that was something that he was just dealing with in himself. He just never really wanted to come to terms with certain things in the Bible or certain things within his religion. And now he has come to terms with that, and it's like, I can't cap for this no more. The religious terminologies and the excuses that I keep being fed, I can't cope with this anymore. I said, he was talking about, he went for 3 years believing in an invisible God to send billions of people into hell because of what happened in the garden, because of a talking snake tricking a woman into eating some forbidden fruit. And then the garden now being guarded by an angel with a flaming sword. And if they was to go near the angel, they would die. Who knows for how long the angel was guarding the garden, you know what I'm saying? But not the basis or the point of this conversation. But that was my personal concern. I didn't know if this was for real. If you go in his time feed right now, you'll see that he is keeping up with this topic. And I would just hope that this year he's deconstructed, and then next year he's back into it. And it's like, I hope he don't go down the whole Hebrew Israelite lane or the Muslim lane. And no disrespect to those faiths or those beliefs, but it's like, and I'll do some self-reflection myself. I have been proclaimed to be somebody to hopscotch or leapfrog from one interest to another, because I was pro-black 2017, 2018. Excuse me. Let me actually get some water. I was proclaimed to have been hopscotching or leapfrogging from one faith to another. You know, from 2017, 2018, I was into the pro-black consciousness stuff, and then 2019, I was a Hebrew Israelite. Wasn't affiliated with the actual like faith of or denominations or camps or nothing like that, but I did believe in the concept of it. Outside of the whole Hispanics and Native American aspect, I just was strictly with black people. And then I started to dive more into the occult and metaphysics of things and stuff like that, and then I came to be in what we now know to be the Omni's Rome. When I came across the conception of omniism, I knew I found my it factor, and I've stayed with it since. Now, even within the dynamic of me being the Omni's Rome, I have went from talking about red pill content to just completely laying off occult metaphysical content, and now I'm talking about deconstruction, but this is all within the range of omniism. I am still able to talk about red pill content. I'm still able to talk about relationships. I'm still able to talk about certain aspects of life itself and self-development and self-improvement, because that's what it means to be omniscient, is that you are able to look at different aspects of life, different systems and philosophical perspectives of life, and contribute whatever you see valuable to your own life, and also dissect and call out the flaws of certain aspects and philosophies in life in itself. So I don't know where he goes from here. We haven't looked at his breakdown of why he left the faith and everything like that. We will deconstruct that as well. I would, if I had the time to just go through all these different tweets and stuff like that, but we must move on. Let's go to the video here, and let's just see what he has to say concerning the basis of why he left the faith. Okay, so this is the video. Let's see what he has to say.
So everybody wants to know, why doesn't Young Don believe in Christianity anymore? Well, the list is very long, and the amount of information that I have consumed over the course of the past months as I've been actively deconstructing, really my deconstruction started when God started to fail me years ago. I've been a Christian for 3 years, or I was a Christian for 3 years, but we don't have time for all that shit. There are plenty of books by guys like Bart Ehrman, Richard Carrier, Christopher Hitchens. I mean, there's a long list of skeptics, atheists, biblical scholars, people who are Christians and pastors and have PhDs that have written entire books on walking you through the deconstruction of this faith. So if you really are curious, you can go buy a book. But I'll just give you a couple pieces of evidence as to why I no longer believe this. Essentially, I stopped fighting cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you believe something to be true, but then you receive evidence that contradicts it, and you just ignore that evidence.
Okay, so this is exactly what I was saying. And like I was saying, like maybe he had went through this experience of like he just could no longer cope with the BS. He could no longer accept all the religious dogma of Christianity within the religion. And I understand that. I got to a certain point as I started to get older, as I was growing up in the church, where a lot of things that I began to question, I began to re-question. Some certain things just didn't make sense. Certain traditions and certain things that we would say and certain things of how we would see God and contribute ourselves to God never really made sense to me. Even when I was a Christian, I had very peculiar, wow, I am botching that. I had very unique beliefs when it came to the faith, when it came to Christianity. I don't know why that word peculiar. There we go, peculiar. I had very unique beliefs, even as a Christian, and I used to get into it with Christians because I'm like, y'all not reading your own Bible, So I just took it a step further and deconstructed. If you want to know my deconstruction, why I left the faith, I will have that video linked at the very end of this video. But that's exactly what I was, I was making that theory. I was guessing, that he had to have went through that cycle of like, wow, this really don't make sense. And you could make the argument that he was a baby Christian, so he was never really a Christian to begin with. You could also make an argument that because he wasn't too much into the faith, or he wasn't as deep into the faith as most people have been, that he was able to see the flaws in religion, in Christianity, quicker than somebody who was in the faith for 30 years, 13 years, 15 years. So props to him if he is going to continue this journey of deconstructing and also helping other people deconstruct. And I made a video talking about how like deconstruction is on the rise. A lot of us black people are deconstructing from Christianity. A lot of us black people are noticing the BS and we are not standing for it anymore. And that's how we saw one of his tweets talking about how like white Jesus is a drug. And he can admit that he was on that drug, and a lot of black people fail to admit and fail to acknowledge that they see God as a white man, that they see God as a Caucasian male, that they uphold the white savior complex. But we'll save that for another time, for another day. Let's continue.
Let's turn to John chapter 14 and look at this. It says, "Very truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do. And in fact, will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. See, Christians don't really believe this shit. Okay, you believe in Jesus? Can you do what Jesus did? Can you heal the blind? Can you multiply food? Can you raise the dead? Can you heal the sick? No. You might not be able to. Can you bring me a man? Is there a single man on this earth that can resurrect the dead? Is there a single man on this earth that can heal a blind person? Have you ever seen that? No. So what? Is it that you don't believe? I know I believed. I couldn't do none of that shit. But that's what Jesus said. Show me a single man on this planet that can do greater works than what Jesus did.
Wow. And it's just as simple as that. And I remember my brother, for an example, we was having this conversation about Christianity, and my brother was like, yeah, I kind of left the faith real early because he had asked the question, how is a man born from a virgin? I mean, it's so simple. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I left it like at 13, 14. He's like, I just asked the question, how is a man born from a virgin? He's like, I never really got a real answer. It's more so of like, oh, that's just how God works, and God works in mysterious ways, but it's never an explanation. You can't just tell somebody some type of dogma, oh, that's just how God works. You know, that's just how God wanted it to happen. That doesn't explain it. That doesn't break it down. That's not logical. Even when you want to deal with it from a spiritual perspective, it goes against the very laws of nature. A man can't be born from a virgin, you know? So even in this same reference of logic, if you are a follower of Christ, if you are a disciple of Christ, mind you, the disciples were able to heal the sick. They were able to raise the dead. They were able to give sight to the blind. They were able to make the lame walk. They were able to rebuke and cast out demons. Young Don is telling you he couldn't do none of that. He couldn't heal the sick. He couldn't raise the dead. He couldn't give sight to the blind. He couldn't turn water into wine. He couldn't walk on water. But Jesus is telling you here, the works I do, you can do also and greater. Now, one or two things are happening here. Either A, you're being lied to, or B, this is a myth, this is mystical, and it's talking about something deeper than the works that you can do externally as healing the sick and raising the dead. This must be talking about something mystical. But because most Christians don't believe in what is mystical, you take it for what is the exoteric or the external belief of this, so you get the dogma out of it. You don't really get the true substance out of this message. Let's continue.
So you're telling me there's not a single man on this planet that has faith, that believes? This is not true. This isn't real. This is a fairy tale. This is made up. This verse is not true. It doesn't work. You can't prove this. You can't prove this. See, this is a bunch of stories. That's why the people in the Bible were able to back this up. Paul raised the dead. Peter raised the dead. They could do what Jesus did, but you can't, because just like this story, those stories are made up. That's what this is. And then the second part of this, I will do whatever you ask in my name so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. That's another thing. I talk about unanswered prayers. And I didn't pray to win the lottery. I didn't pray to become a millionaire. I didn't pray for success and clout or anything like that. I prayed for things like wisdom. Well, fuck that. What about just the time I was going to a church and the pastor has been battling an illness for over a decade, and myself, along with people who have been Christians for over a decade, elders in the church, anoint this person with oil and prayed for him multiple times, and his illness has only got worse and worse. Or what about the other time I went to a different church and there was a kid who was sick with cancer, and the entire church prayed for him, and one was a Pentecostal church. The first one was a Protestant church. This was an Orthodox church. So for the Orthodox Catholic bros who are like, oh, well, it's because you weren't in the church. This other church where the kid had cancer was an Orthodox church. Kid died from cancer. What happened with that? But people will say, oh, well, you know, God doesn't always answer prayer. He says anything. So now anything don't mean anything. Just like the fact that you will do works doesn't, Jesus don't mean what he's saying. And then if you go to James chapter, let's see, is it James chapter 4? Oh, here it is. James chapter 5. Are there any among you suffering? They should pray. Are any cheerful? They should sing songs of praise.
Yeah, this is what I was telling you. I told you he was book smart, bro. I told you this man would be like thoroughly breaking down the Bible. And that's, for me, the same way as well. I was a Bible thumping, fervent, faithful Christian. I'm talking about from cover to cover. You could look at my Bible today. I still have it today. Written, highlighted, all type of stuff. I know the Bible like the back of my hand, you know. And I'm not saying I'm a Bible scholar, okay, but I know enough to know not to believe. I know enough not to be religious. I know enough not to be a Christian. And the same thing applies here with him. He got so book smart. He studied all the aspects of religion in this faith to such an extent. Like, he's like, oh, this is some BS. And I told a Christian early this morning, you know, as I was in the gym, like, I grew out of it. I knew everything that there was to know about Christianity. I studied it. Like, people can testify. People who grew up with me during school, people who grew up with me in the church, ain't nobody knew it like Tyrone. Like nobody knew the Bible like Tyrone did. You feel me? And so this probably can apply to young Don as well. I may have to actually, because I know I wanted to do another reaction to another video from him, but I might make that into a separate video. So let me just make that disclaimer for those who are watching.
Are any among you sick? They should call for the elders of the church and have them pray over them, anointing them with oil in the name of the Lord. The prayer of the faith, or the prayer of faith, will save the sick, and the Lord will raise them up, and anyone who has committed sins will be forgiven.
And this was a passage, this was a specific passage I would go to when I was younger, right? There was somebody very important to me in my life, and I would go to this passage, I would go to Isaiah, and I would call out these scriptures, and I would do everything that I was taught to do, and command healing, and command, you know, the abundance of prosperity, and all these different things, right? And that person did not go through. And after that, maybe the same thing as what happened to young Don, that's what happened to me. I was like, something ain't right. And you might be the Christian, you might be the believer in that cognitive dissonance hitting you like, oh no, God has a reason for everything, and you know, he doesn't answer all your prayers, and he may not come when you want him, but he'll be there right on time. You know, you gotta get the little shucking and jiving jazz hands. But the same thing applies here. The same thing can apply here. I mean, it's in the word. It's in the word. Does the word not say they will be saved? And I just never understood that. Like, these people, these disciples that are depicted in the Bible, they could call on the Lord. They could praise and worship, and angels will come and save them. You see what I'm talking about? Apostle Paul could be bitten by a snake, and he could just shake it off. These are the people depicted in the Bible, and Jesus says, the works I do, you can do also in greater. So then when you put it to action, it doesn't work. What's going on? You can't tell somebody like me or somebody like young Don that we didn't believe. You feel me? Somebody as articulate as I am, somebody as articulate as young Don, and we've studied the faith and we studied the Bible. What now? You are in trouble. You are in trouble. But let's continue. I'm rambling.
Desires it if it's in God's plan. It says will. It says if you do this, this will happen. How many sick people are there that go and receive prayer and they don't get better? How many sick people are there that go and receive prayer and they die? I mean, the hospitals are filled with sick people receiving prayer constantly, and they are going to die. How do you explain that? See, this doesn't work because it's not real. I just accepted that. These aren't the first time I've seen these verses. I've read the Bible cover to cover, and I've read the New Testament multiple times. I've seen verses like this all the time, and I always just chalk it up to, oh, maybe my faith isn't strong enough. That's why my prayers don't work. Are anyone's prayers strong enough? Bring forth the man whose prayers are strong enough, and let's take him down to the cancer center and start healing these sick children that got cancer. I know you won't step up because you don't exist. You're not real. This religion is just used as a tool to oppress and control people and to villainize other people. And that's exactly what I used it to do. It empowers you and makes you feel righteous and like you know shit, and that you're better than people, and you're better than these sinners, and you know God and are walking with God. And humans love that shit. And
damn. Did he just admit to that? Oh, no. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen somebody just admit to it like, yeah, I used to use this for this. I used to have this intent. This is how it used to make me feel. This is what I would use it. This is how I would utilize the Bible for my own benefit and to feed my ego and to also villainize other people. Wow. Wow. That is crazy. Wow. Let's continue.
And you point at people who, you know what I'm saying, it creates villains, it creates enemies for you. And so you start attacking people and condemning people who are just minding their fucking business, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so, look, I'm not saying if you're a Christian that you should stop being a Christian, but I'm not a Christian anymore because this shit is not real. It does not work. You cannot debunk this. Debunk me, right? I ain't gonna argue with you about failed prophecies and contradictions in the Bible because I know you're gonna run around the block and make up a bunch of excuses. All you pastors, all you men of God, debunk this shit. Let's go down to a cancer center and you heal. And before you come with this bullshit about, oh, well, a wicked generation seeketh for a sign. This ain't about seeking for a sign. Don't do it for young Don. Do it for the sick kid, right? Because you really got faith and you really got power like that. Do it for the sick kids with cancer and the parents that are suffering because their child has never done anything wrong because they're a little baby is being ravaged by cancer, right? Do it for them. But at the same time, you would prove to people like me and people all over the world that this shit is real. But you can't and you won't because your shit don't work. But also, to refute this idea that a wicked generation seeks for a sign, the Bible tells us that there are signs specifically for unbelievers. See, the people of this who made up these stories understood that it is illogical to expect people to believe in something without giving them any real evidence. And so we see that all over the Bible. We see Jesus and the apostles performing miracles constantly. Because why would anyone believe this shit just because you said it? This is just a fucking story. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 22. Tongues then are a sign not for believers, but for unbelievers, while prophecy is not for unbelievers, but for believers. The miracle, the gift of tongues, is supposed to convert unbelievers. Now, obviously, it's not talking about the incoherent babbling that you see in the Pentecostal church. I'm not even going to pretend to do it right now. But you've heard it. You know what it sounds like when a person talks in tongues. That shit don't convince any unbelievers because it's gibberish and it doesn't make sense and it looks goofy and silly. The only people who believe in that are people who already believe in Christianity. No one's ever seen a person do this. Now, that's some of the cleanest sounding tongues I ever heard. This is from a dude who used to believe in tongues. He don't believe in tongues anymore. He's a pastor on the internet. Point is, for all of you who don't believe in Christianity, for all you Muslims and atheists and agnostics, did you find that shit convincing? Because the Bible says that tongues is a sign for the unbelievers. Did that shit make you believe in Jesus? Did that shit seem like a miracle? Here, let's actually pull up another one of someone who actually believes in tongues.
Hallelujah! Yes. Hallelujah!
Did you find that shit convincing? Because I didn't. Does that make you want to believe in Jesus? Does that make you believe in the supernatural, or does this just sound like a woman yelling out gibberish? Because that's what it is, and it's not historical biblical tongues. The tongues mentioned in the Bible is, speaking in other human languages miraculously. The point I'm making is that it's baked into the text that there would be signs for unbelievers, but there are none. You cannot provide any. So these are logical reasons I'm putting forth. I could talk about my own experience. I could run through the list of contradictions and historical inaccuracies and scientific errors in the Bible. But that's pointless because Christians apologists are just going to make excuses after excuses. And you know what I'm saying? Like, take a look at the contradiction between the genealogy for Jesus and...
Damn. This man has done his stuff. He has listed everything there is to know in terms of deconstructing from Christianity. That is crazy. He has done the work, as far as I know of. And we'll see where it goes from here. I would definitely love to do reaction videos to what he does further in his, debates or having other conversations with Christians and things like that, because I'm pretty sure this is not the end. This is literally the beginning. And now that he is in this type of arc, we just going up from here. And I would love to do a breakdown with him. I would love to have an interview with him and talk about the detriment of Christianity to black people and to the church, or the detriment of Christianity in the black church to black people, and just relating to his, problems or his issues with Christianity and with religion, and where is he going on, where does he go from here concerning his spiritual journey, or is he an atheist? We don't know. But let's continue.
But a Christian can say, well, isn't it possible that one of these is the genetic bloodline of Mary and one is Joseph and some shit like that? And I guess it's possible. It's not probable. It's not a convincing argument, but because there is enough possibility that is true, that is sufficient for the Christian to say your argument is refuted. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But these are logical, clear things that are irrefutable. in the Bible. Challenge has been thrown down. I can guarantee you there isn't a single Christian on the planet that can pick this up and meet this challenge. If you're ready to go, let's go down to the nearest children's hospital. Come through to Texas. Let's go down to the nearest children's cancer hospital and and get to work. Let's start healing some babies. I promise you it will never happen. Yeah, man. But hey, that's what's up. I'm just gonna be living life like a normal human. Yeah, man. I'm done with all of this foolishness. I'm done with the bigotry. I'm done with all of this bullshit, bro. As a species, we need to move on from this shit, bro, because it's holding us back. It's making us unnecessarily hateful to other people who don't see the world the way we see it, who don't practice the same cultures that we practice. And you know what I'm saying? It's just holding us back. It's holding us back as human beings. And it's held me back for 3 years, but not anymore.
Wow. That is crazy. That is some wild stuff right there. That is okay, Don. I wasn't prepared for that. I was not prepared for that. I was preparing to have concerns and doubts about this man's deconversion from Christianity. So everything that I had in terms of ammunition has completely went out the window. He has, from the nitty to the gritty, from beginning to end, and that he has a challenge. He's like, let's go to the nearest cancer center, let's go to the nearest hospital, and let's see some miracles. And I think that's valid, and of course a Christian might quote where Jesus is talking to Thomas and says, "Blessed are those who do not see and yet believe," and yet you're taking that out of context. You feel me? Like that doesn't have anything to do with the conversation of believing out of seeing signs and miracles and healing. That just specifically had to do with the resurrection and the time and the event of that particular moment. But Christians will tell you this so that you can cope with, you don't have to really see Jesus to believe him. You don't really have to hear Jesus to believe him. Just feel him in your heart. So, anyways, that was great, in my personal opinion. We'll see where it goes from here. We'll see how he'll, break down conversations. I still have to do another reaction. So be on the lookout for that video. I may have already have it posted up, so you can go through that one as well, But if you want to know from me personally why I deconstructed in Christianity, I made a podcast episode that you can click on right here, and I'll see you over there. Make sure you hit that like button for this video. Share your comments and your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said, I'll see you in the next one.